Can you stand up?
So when I see that, I'm the only Muhammad in the classroom and I'm speaking, and sometimes, they find interest in there's Muhammad in the class, and then we speak to each other. I see that the kids, whether it be Ashkenazi or Bukharian Jews, they often tend to not respond to my questions, have any response to my questions, or even try to go into any kind of conversation or dialogue with me. I'll have questions for them, and they'll answer the question, but try to end the conversation very quickly. I see, and I've heard from other scholars from my own religion and health. I've seen that they said the Jewish community many times they don't like to open up a discussion. So I'm feeling as if you would be the right person to ask this.
Yeah, that's a really good. Debbie, you get a question?
No.
So his question is, I think so Mohammed is a student at Torah College, which is affiliated with Sheikh University, right? It's a kind of Jewish Orthodox affiliated institution, and knows a lot of Jewish students, and he sort of found that a lot of Jews don't really want to kind of enter into dialogue. I think I think your observation is largely true. And my best explanation, there are a couple of reasons. One is that because Judaism is not a conversionist religion, although we do accept converts.
We do too.
we do accept converts. I actually live in a community that's actually 50% converts, which is unusual, very unusual. That because we're not converts, we sort of, I would say, historically kind of got out of that habit of communicating our religion. That's part of it. And part of it is also the condition of Jewish communities for the last 2,000 years has been pretty isolated and in most places, and not all places, but in most places, under various degrees of persecution. And the response to the persecution was to do what they used to do in the Old West, circle the wagons, right? To kind of protect ourselves and not share too much. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing. My effort, and I'll be very honest with you, is I don't think that's actually served us very well. Because it ends up with nobody knowing what we're about. And I don't think that's really a healthy thing. It's not healthy for people really just have no clue what you stand for. And on the one hand, and we create these lovely communities for ourselves, these great communities for ourselves, which nobody ever gets to see. It's also, our mission statements in the Torah is to be an Or L'Goyim, is to be a light unto the nations. Well, it's hard to be a light unto the nations if you're always in the closet, so to speak. Also a bad joke for this time of year. Does that answer your question? I think that's what you're observing. I think is largely true. I think it's changing a little bit. I think there are more people who are open to discussion about that. I hope there's more. Question? I don't.
Such a sensitive time right now.
Yeah, I think that's also true. I mean, I think people are very nervous. I think people also there's a sense of time people are nervous. Yeah. Another question.
I have a statement to make. Since you read some of the verses of Torah, there is a verse I want to read it to you. It says, "In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful." And the verse reads, "The same religion came to you." You means Allah God is addressing Muhammad, the messenger. "Enjoyed on Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and others. Be united. Don't divide yourself. God is watching over you." The other statement I want to say that the Quran has paper, Psalms, Torah, Bible, and Quran. So there are many verses about Moses in the Quran than any prophet. I'm saying to you.
No, I do have. I think one of the things that's that motivates me personally is the idea that in many ways we're on the same team. I was very pleased. A friend of mine in Philadelphia, his son heard I was coming, and he looked at my picture and he said, I think he's on Allah's team. And I like to think that I am on Allah's team. There is this incredible common core. I don't know whether I would call it I don't think it's just an Abrahamic common core. I think it's much deeper than that. I think it's much thicker than that. And I think that's what I'm here to build on, is that common core. When I sat last night with the Sheikh, and we were talking about our religious lives, and it didn't feel, and almost never feels to me, like I'm talking to somebody from some other exotic faith. It feels like I'm talking to a brother, and I think that brotherhood is real, and I think it's absolutely healthy for us to be able to recognize that.
This question's for both. Being and have these dialogues with other groups, or just try to actively yourself, bring yourself together. Speak up. For those, being that you've been in this situation before, this is not the first time you've had conversations. When you meet a group, for whatever faith, whatever culture that is, that is a little more difficult to discuss or have a conversation. What steps do you take to break that ice? Because for us that work, that it happens, right? With everything that's going on politically with any culture religion right now, there are barriers that kind of get built up on a regular basis, and finding those avenues to break that barrier, just to work in I guess you could say,
to repeat that question for those who didn't hear it. So basically he's asking for any advice on how to break the ice within dialogue in your own daily life, work, school, whatever that may be. So I'm pretty sure most panelists have different advice or even similar advice. So Brother Lee, we can start with you.
Okay, I'm gonna do it right now. These are my grandchildren. Okay. Baby pictures. She's screaming. We've already met. Yeah. I mean, at a certain level, I'm not joking about baby pictures. My grandchildren, they are.
Very good.
I think part of the answer is to do anything you possibly can to get back to a human reality. People get into their heads, and they're so absorbed in their opinions, and they're so absorbed in their impression of you. Right? I walk into a room, and we have a little computer kind of make it. Oh, okay, there he is. This is true. He thinks this. He knows this. Okay? He thinks this. He sells diamonds. I don't even own a diamond. Well, okay, my wife owns a diamond. So there's an immediate impression, and anything that you can do to humanize the situation, anything you can do is be able to say, look, I'm a human being, you're a human being, and you may not actually know everything there is to know about me yet. Maybe there's an encounter that can take place between us, and you can come to know me, but you don't know me yet. So that can be all sorts of things, and sometimes it does not work. There are certainly situations in which people are just, it's just not going to be, it's just not going to happen. They're just going to kind of look at you no matter what. They're not going to see you. They're not going to hear you. But I would say 99% of the cases, baby pictures work like gangbusters, or anything that will humanize me and humanize the people around me.
Very briefly, also, when speaking with others from different religions, speak on similarities first, like I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, that within the Quran, Allah advises the Prophet when speaking with people of other religions, تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم. Speak on similarities that we have with one another. When you speak on a similarity first as opposed to a difference, naturally, you're not going to start off with any sort of anger, with any sort of animosity. With debate, we're not trying to debate. The first thing we're trying to do is bridge a gap. So look for similarities prior to differences.
Any questions from the sisters? You've been pretty quiet. We'll come back to that.
Question for Rabbi Lee. Your internet persona is jihadi Jew. I was telling my Jewish friend about the event today that Rabbi Lee Weissman was going to be here, and he goes by the moniker of jihadi Jew. And my friend was like, "Whoa, is that okay? Is that allowed?" So what has been your encounters with people when you tell them about this nickname?
Okay, so let me explain the reason for the nickname. That's my guy. Everybody can explain it with you. That's my guy. I chose the name. I chose the name because the idea of a struggle, particularly the struggle jihad al-nafs, the struggle with the self, is an extraordinarily Jewish idea. I mean, it's really a bedrock of Jewish spirituality. There are all classics of Jewish philosophy and Jewish ethics were written in Arabic, mostly in Spain, and there are chapters of Jewish books entitled Jihad. Right? They're translated eventually into Hebrew, but they discuss, in fact, one of the most famous is a book called Chovot HaLevavot, The Duties of the Heart. And in the very beginning of the chapter on the struggle, it begins with a little story about once upon a time there was a wise man, and he had gone out to battle. And he had gone out to battle, and he came back with his men, and he pointed to the town, and he said, "Now the real jihad begins." Right? Sound familiar to any of you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a narrative. It's a Muslim narrative in a Jewish book. And so I really didn't like the idea that this very noble idea of the struggle, had been demonized.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very difficult for Muslims to kind of pull it out of that demonized position, but it's easy for me. The other reason is there's a tradition in Judaism of doing things in order to make children ask. Sometimes we do strange things in order for children to ask questions. This was an opportunity for people to say, "Hey, what's with the name?" And I have the opportunity to explain, well, hey, this is an idea that's in common. And lastly with the name, is that the truth is, as far as I'm concerned, that struggle is really what we're here for. That's really, if somebody can ask me what the purpose of life is, I might say it's to serve God. That would be one question. But then the next question, the truth is, how do you serve God? You serve God through struggle. You serve God through working with what it is that you have and struggling to create the best self you possibly can, the best community you can, the best world you can, the best country. And so that's what I chose. As for whether it's okay or not, I get a lot of flack for it. Sometimes people are not so positive. I've had people scared away from events and things like that, whatever. And I think also with Muslims sometimes they don't want to say it on the phone. You know what I'm talking about. It's really kind of a strange. You'll say, well, you can say it, but I can't say it. So it's good that.
We have about 4 or 5 minutes left, and we take a couple more questions. One from the men's side and one from the ladies' side. All right, there's some lady that tried to text me a question. Don't have service anymore.
I'm just curious, what is that self-struggle in Judaism or in Hebrew? What is it referred to in, it's just when you're conversing with people?
Well, the struggle is personalized. In a sense, each person, the struggle is never the same for any two people because none of us really have, as we said before, none of us all, really start out with the same equipment, right? So the struggle is going to change. And part of it is knowing what it is you have to struggle with. So there's one of the processes, for example, as we were talking about last night, what we call cheshbon or nefesh, to make an accounting of the soul, to make an accounting of yourself, to really spend time examining yourself, to figure out exactly what it is you have to work on. And the tools, I think, for working on ourselves is more or less the same as for Muslims, I think. It's, you know, you have the tools of prayer, you have the tools of study, you have the tools of seclusion, of taking time alone, for self-examination. You have obviously the tools of repentance, the tools of fasting. I mean, all these things are ways of struggling. And the goal, at least I think in the general way, the goal is to get yourself out of the way enough for God to be at the center. You know, most of us, I'm trying to say, most of us are idolaters of the self. You know, first thing we have to do is to try to nullify ourselves enough to be able to make God the center of our lives instead of to make us the center of our lives.
Sure.
Hi. I go to school with a very large Jewish population, and I'm one of the only Muslims on campus. And I wanted to know, well, it's one thing to engage in conversation and build bridges between individuals, but how would either of you suggest building bridges and engaging communities in interfaith dialogue instead of just one-on-one?
We're doing it. I think that, I don't know how these guys do it. They'll tell you. I mean, I think part of it is for people to just say they're going to do it. In my case, you know, I got the crazy idea to do it, and other people kind of latched onto my crazy idea, and so, you know, and now, you know, we're doing it. So I really think to a large extent, it's really just putting yourself out there and saying, okay, I'm willing to do it. And I personally, this is nice. I mean, I like this kind of, this is extraordinarily nice feeling in here, and I really like it. Most I've been favoring.
My community, the reflection of my heart.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's a. I think that this is a part of it. But I also like to do this very small scale, just for people to be able to sit and to talk, and to be able to get to know one another, eating. You know, we know that the Prophet Abraham was never preached. We don't believe that he ever preached. Right? He brought people to his home and he fed them, and everything took place between the host and the guest. That's really what we have to be. We have to be hosts and guests. You know, that's really what it's all about. Tonight, I'm a little bit of a host and a little bit of a guest, and I think that's sort of the place to begin hospitality.
We have time for one last question, and then we'll go into closing remarks.
Two questions. One is after prayers and food, do you have any more time to answer?
Yeah, I'm going to be here till midnight. Yeah.
And maybe you can answer this after if we're running out of time, but like I want to know from your perspective, because to me, if you guys traded hats, everything you said today is exactly what we would hear on the other days that you come here. So I see a lot of commonality, and I feel like you have a duty, being a man of God, to help us as men and women of God to progress. And I think where a lot of us are failing is we don't know what we could do better. Like you took a step, I think a great step for the Jewish community to bridge the gap. We want to know what we could do as Americans to improve our image and improve our future for our future generations. You know, from your perspective, because maybe we're not thinking outside the box enough to what you could see in our eyes.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the question. This question kind of plagues me, and actually, it's partially why I'm here, and why it is that the most important part of what's going to take place tonight will probably be afterwards. I'm really here to brainstorm. Part of this trip for me, and I've been kind of going to various places. By the way, I have a comment that
switching hats is a great idea because I'm extremely jealous. I actually put my beard down just to compete with the turban. So, you know.
I'm retrieving your beard like that.
I know, exactly.
You guys all run away.
We're trading. So if you want to switch hats, we can switch hats. But I think you're right. And the question is where to go from here. And I'm really brainstorming about that. This is a great example of things that something that people can do. And I hope that people will see this. I have to take a picture from up here because nobody will believe this. You know, it's a take a picture from up here. Just because like don't believe the beauty that I'm seeing here. Awesome. But really think about, you know, how to create these kinds of events, what kind of circumstances that we can create for these to happen. So we'll talk about that afterwards. Because I would love to see this. I'd love to see it grow. I'd love to see it. And you're right. By the way, I didn't massage this too much for like commonalities. We didn't really talk about this beforehand. This is pretty much what it is. You know, in the sense that we really are so much on the same team. And, you know, we're just wearing different hats. You know, he's the Yankees. I'm New Yorkers who make those kind of jokes. Take their sport very seriously here. Or even Muslims. That's it.
There's no debate about who's better. Yankees are
Exactly.
So we'll wrap up right now with some closing remarks, and then so we'll close up with closing remarks, have adhan, prayer time, and then we'll continue afterwards. Whoever wants to stay and ask questions further.
Just wanted to thank Rabbi Lee for coming. Hopefully, you guys will be able to stay after the program. Thank you for the wonderful turnout. And again, it's not enough for us to just sit over here and listen to myself or Rabbi Lee talk for a couple of moments, and then we go on and forget exactly what we did. What we need to do is, again, individually, and then as a community, is to internalize these lessons, internalize these commonalities, internalize the dialogue, and make sure that each and every one of us become a vessel to bridge another gap in our neighborhood, in our school, and our workplace, and then eventually on a larger scale, on a community, on a national, on a world level. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are able to have the divine intervention and tawfiq to do this by the blessing of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى